Jesus joy, I welcome our keynote speaker once again, Mr. Faithful Ojebiyi. Sorry if I don't pronounce the name very well. If you were not here earlier, I know you will want to be serious here. And he's not here alone. He's here with his amiable queen, the queen of his empire, Mercy, Mrs. Mercy Ojebiyi. Please, can we celebrate her? She's one of our own, Kano brought up. Yes. You are not clapping. That is why it's not up yet. You are not clapping. You are not clapping. Can you do that better? Can you do that better?
Man, I must confess, that was a very powerful and insightful session by Daniel Abuki. And in fact, I personally learned a lot of things. Like you were saying, some of us, someone like me, I'm very, very shy. And how I actually learned how to start talking was by actually speaking to the mirror. I mean, sometimes if you had seen me there, you actually think I'm running mental. Because I would just literally stand in front of the mirror and I would imagine that I have audience in front of me. And then I would literally just like start talking. And when I make mistakes, I'll say, oh, no. Start all over again. And I kept doing that. And eventually, I got the confidence to, stand in front of a large crowd. And also, thankfully, I also belong to a young adult church, and we have quite a number of programs. We run programs like almost every single Sunday. And, pastor will just tell me, you're on the panel session today. You're on the panel session today. Sometimes I almost want to enter the ground because I find it so hard to look into the eyes of people. But, over time, kept doing the same thing over and over. And eventually, I got the confidence to stand in front of a large crowd and, do presentations. So thank you very much, sir, for that insightful session. God bless you. So we're going into, I'll call it like a little demo and then just practical sessions and basically just discussing my work, how I use AI, artificial intelligence, daily, what are my daily drivers, the kind of tools I use, how I use them, projects I've worked on, projects I've built. I'll start with my demo and then we'll move into like the slide presentation. So remember during the last presentation, I talked about a project that I'd worked on in 1 week. I don't know if anybody has heard about PureBeam. Yeah. You've heard about PureBeam. So funnily, when Dara Osoba, who happens to be the creator of PureBeam, announced on Twitter that he wanted to create a software, he wanted to create a church presenter software, I had that same idea in my mind for a long time. And I never got the chance to work on it. I just felt like I had so much things in my hands to do. I had a lot of projects I was working on. I had startups that, I was co-founding and also running at the same time. So I just dead the idea. Until early this year, he launched this product. And, when he had announced, I thought the product was going to be a free software for, people in the church to use and everything. And then I found out that it was actually a paid software. And then I said, oh boy. Because I've been in the church media for a long time, for a while. And the church media has actually grown on the backs or on the wings of a lot of open source software. I mean, even in Faith Church in Lagos, there are a lot of open source tools that we use to make the entire service memorable and lively for our users. So I then told myself, why can't I build this? I mean, I have artificial intelligence, I have the AI credits I could use. And so I decided, one Sunday morning when we got to church, I just picked up my tablet. As I was listening to the message, inspiration was also coming. When I tweeted about this, someone tweeted and said something like, the best place to actually get inspiration for your work is in the church, in the presence of God. And I agree. Funnily, most of the solutions, inspirations, ideas on how to solve specific problems that I've ever gotten has actually come sometimes when I'm under the administration of a man of God. You know, my mind will somehow just wander away, and the thought of how to solve the problem that I have will just come. And I get home, I go and apply it. So during this particular service, I was in church, and then the idea to just, start working on this open source version of PureBeam came into mind. And then I started working. And I'll just walk you through, my interaction with Claude. Let me find it. A minute. Yeah, so yeah, I have it. And you can see this is how I started. I told the AI, look at this web page. I'm trying to build a similar app called this, and I have to break each feature into smaller chunks. I want to do this, just like giving it an idea of exactly what I wanted to start building. And then we wrote down a technical plan. We started, this is the core of the program. These are the, let me say, underlying architecture that actually powers what the app is called Rema, what Rema actually does. And then we went on and on. It gave me a full plan, gave me the first iteration. I sat down, read it, and then I was like, oh boy, I'm not satisfied with the tools that you chose. If you notice here, it had said it was talking about DeepGram Nova 2. And this is one thing about artificial intelligence. There's something we call cut-off knowledge, meaning whatever tool or whatever model you are using has a cut-off knowledge date, in the sense that the training data that it has is cut off at a particular date. So for whatever reason, this particular model that I was using to write this documentation, the cut-off knowledge date it had only has training data on DeepGram Nova 2. But DeepGram already released newer models, but they didn't have that. So I personally had to go and do a research. I had to go to DeepGram's documentation and no, DeepGram has another, it has another model called DeepGram Nova 3, right? And you remember when we had our first conversation, I'd mentioned that you cannot outsource all your thinking to artificial intelligence. Otherwise, AI will steer you in the direction that it knows than the direction you are supposed to steer it to. Meaning, you actually have to go and do your research and give AI context. So, in my own defense, I knew some of the technologies that I recommended here was completely off. So I decided, let's go ahead and go and do a research. I went to DeepGram. I went to pick the, if you notice, I have a comparison between Flux and Nova 3. And then I told it, go do the research. DeepGram has Nova 3. Look at this comparison page and let me know what you can do. And then it did its research. And then it come back and says Nova 3 is the clear winner. Because, of course, for a company to have released a newer version of something, it means an improvement has been made on what was existing. So I knew for a fact that if it had come back and told me that it was choosing Nova 2, I would have immediately told it, no, that is not the correct thing. The correct thing is actually Nova 3. So it went for Nova 3, and then we started working on other features. We talked about the semantic search, and I will kind of explain how some of these things work when I'm doing the demo of the actual project, right? I told you to look for, I recommended a couple of search algorithms to it, and that is based off of my own knowledge. Now, this is what makes me different from someone who doesn't have domain expertise. Someone who doesn't have domain expertise will just go to the chatbot and then just tell the chatbot, write a documentation for me, write this for me, write a plan out for me. What I have done in my case is, based on what I know is the industry standard and the tools that I have used, I can tell the agent, I have these 3, 4, 5 tools. Go do research, go read their documentation page, and come back to me with an analysis or a table that kind of compares all of them together, talking about their strengths, talking about their weaknesses and all of that. And then I will now choose whichever one I want to use, which is essentially what I did here. I told it to use this HNSW, use FICE badge, and then it went, did the recommendation, came back with a benchmark result and all of that, gave it back to me. We went on and on and on. It would, then, if you notice along the line, it had done a research of something I did not even recommend to it. It went and found these Let's Church Bible embeddings, which is basically a research someone had done in the past on how to the person was trying to rank different models on how accurate they are to getting referential text from the Bible. So what I done then was I noticed that even though it was able to get that context from that website, it had missed out some specific features from what the data sets that it was trying to reference. So I told it, can you read the documentation of the research that was done? Why are we not using OpenAI or Gemini as our model? And then it came back and tried to explain, oh, you're asking the right question, blah, 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 this is, I don't want to bore you with the technical details. And then the reason for me asking that question it's not that I don't know the reason for not doing that. I just needed someone who would actually reason with me. Because I had mentioned earlier, I usually take my AI agent as my team member or as a workmate. Meaning, we cross over ideas, we bounce ideas off each other. Someone might be right, someone might be wrong. I'm not saying I know it all. I don't have all the knowledge. And the good thing that AI agents are really good at doing is going into the internet to search for things that ordinarily you might not be able to find yourself. So the agent was able to do all of that, come back with its own results. Eventually, we went through multiple iterations of a technical plan, and then we came back to this version 3.4 right here. A minute. Let me start with the 3.3. We came back with the 3.4, which was eventually what I used as a starting point for building this project. While I was building the project, a lot of things even changed along the line. I switched, the embedding model I was using. I tried to even run some benchmarks myself. And eventually, I was able to successfully build an open source version to PuBeam. And essentially what the product does is, countless numbers of times with our intermediate team, we often get distracted during preachings because a lot of things are going on behind the scenes. You are talking, something is misbehaving, you have to fix this, you have to fix that. And sometimes the person who is controlling the scripture verse for the minister might forget to switch, or is not fast enough, or the preacher has called the verse and they're almost instantly reading. So what I ended up building was, I then decided to build a tool that would actually help preachers during their sermons. And essentially what it does is, once you start running it, you connect an audio source to it. You call, for example, the preacher might be preaching and then just call a specific Bible verse. And the software literally just opens the Bible verse, opens the scripture. You can connect it to your NDI software and all of that. So I'll just do a quick demo to show you how this works. Hopefully the internet here is really, really good. Let's open our Bibles to Revelation chapter 3, verse 5. Now, that's how fast this is. Can you go to verse 6? So, and then if I say stuff like, can Can we open our Bibles to Genesis chapter 1, verse 10, verse 5, verse 7. So, and one other good thing is, can we open this in KJV? It has switched from NKJV to KJV. Can we open this in NIV? So, one of the cool things about this is it also understands context. Follow peace with all men and holiness. If you notice, we have Hebrews chapter 12, verse 14 already opened. Let me clear this so that you will see like the recent detections at the top. Let's look for a Bible verse that we can quote. Let's say, in the beginning was the world, and the world was God. In the beginning was the world. In the beginning was the world, and the world was with God. So you can see here, we have John chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the world, and the world was God, and the world was God. So, So basically, what this thing has kind of helped us to do was, and normally, because I'm actually presenting and like saying like a lot of things, including the sermon, that's why the thing is, in a normal sermon settings, you are just preaching the word, and the AI is just like listening to just what the preacher is saying without like any interference. So normally, we even use this during in a couple of our services on in Faith Church, and the pastor, after the sermon, pastor had to come down and ask me that, who was the person that was operating Bible today? That just noticed that the thing was fast. I say, it's the software that I built, that it was AI that was actually like doing all the work behind the scenes, and he was really impressed. And so far so good. We have like about 200 plus people currently using this software across multiple churches in the world, because I didn't restrict it to just Deeper Life. Of course, it's open source. And one of the good things I did was, the software is completely free. The code is out there in the public. Anybody that wants to download the code, wants to make improvements, they can fork the code, add whatever thing they want to add to it, make it better, or customize it to their use case, right? And in fact, one of the things that I actually also plan to also add into this is to make sure that we can also have like songs, gospel hymns and songs, baptism hymnal, and like songs from like other, Pentecostal churches, so they can also like use this for song presentation. So that is that about Rema. Fun fact about Rema. I built Rema with a language and a tool that I'd never used. I personally am a JavaScript and Python developer. Like that's like my core, that's what I write like every single day. Rema was built with Rust, right? And anyone who is a programmer knows Rust is like one of the hardest languages out there. It's mostly used by system engineers, right? So I built this using Rust, a language that I've never used to build any product. I built the desktop app using Tauri, which is actually like a Rust bridge between the desktop operating system and also the web browser. I'd never used these languages before. I'd never used the tool before. Everything was written using artificial intelligence. I can guarantee you that the entire code was 90% written by AI. I only had very little additions and subtractions to make. So this is just to prove a point that artificial intelligence has, there's actually there's no limit to where artificial intelligence can take you to. The funny thing about Pilgrim is that Dara also by himself is not an engineer, right? Dara is actually a designer, but he was able to build Pilgrim using AI. So, and this is a challenge to many of us who are seated here. There are many of us who, there are a lot of things that we do daily or tools that we pay for, and we feel like, sometimes you just be thinking, I wish I could code. I wish I could write this code. I wish I could build this thing myself. AI has opened boundaries, like the limit, the sky is even the limit. There's so much that you can do. You can pick up your laptop. All you just need is a cloud subscription, open AI subscription, and God so good. There are a lot of open source models out there that are way cheaper than some of the state-of-the-art models. And they will help you they'll get you to where you want to get to. You know, I also talked about, in the last presentation, I was talking about how my company had rebuilt our entire product from ground up, right? I mentioned how we serve enterprise customers in the US and all of that. And I had to build the entire product from ground up in less than a month, a product that had been built over the last 4 years. And I did that single-handedly. Just using AI, I showed you the dashboard the other time. 70% of the entire code was written using artificial intelligence for people that were not around when I was doing that. This is my weekly dashboard of my coding hours. So it is 88 hours, 37 minutes over the week, over 7 days, 74% AI driven. The lines that AI wrote was 50,000. And I was even saying, I even doubt that 17.4K is even me. Because sometimes there are some things that, AI must have done that it will feel like as if I was the one that was doing it. So I can even say confidently that maybe AI had even written 80+ of the entire code base. And all of this was done within 1 week. And I also mentioned that yesterday I had deployed, the first version of the written software. And by Monday, I'm giving it to the people, the customer guys and the product guys in the team to start testing and playing around with it. Now, all of this would not have been possible without AI. And that's why, in this session, I'm just going to talk about personal tools that I use and tools that I could recommend to, some of us who intend to become AI builders or AI users. I've done a demo about Rema. I've talked about what I built in a day. The first thing that, we're going to talk about now is the builder stack. We are going to talk about the point one, which is think. And when I started the session, I had showed you the process I had to go through in my chat interface with Claude. The thought process of what exactly I wanted to build, how I wanted to build it, the tools I wanted to use. We are having like an interaction, having conversation. It will give me a result. I'll tell it, no, this is not what I want, this is how I want it. And we did all of that, and eventually it gave me a final output. Upon which I then started, working on the project. So the first builder stack is think, reason, draft, decide, which was essentially what I had shown in the beginning. The process of thinking about what you want to do, the reasoning between you and the AI, drafting different documentations that you want to eventually reference, and then you eventually decide on what tools, what stack, how do you want to do all of this, right? For me, I use Claude as my daily driver, and I've said it here, Claude is probably the best model out there. It's probably the best state-of-the-art model out there. Sometimes I use ChatGPT, but so very rarely, because when I started using Claude, I just found out that Claude was better at coding than other general daily tasks. And because I'm a software engineer, obviously, I tilted towards using Claude. But ChatGPT works well for every other daily user. People that, for example, my dad uses ChatGPT. I was even convincing him one day that, Shay, you not come and use Claude like this. Let me win you over to the Claude family. Leave ChatGPT family. We have Gemini. And every single person here who has a Google account has access to Gemini. So as long as you have a Gmail account, you have access to the free version of Gemini. So the next phase I'm going to go to is build. I personally am a software engineer. So the tools I use daily, I use Claude Code, I use Cursor. But then, there are some people who are non-technical, who would love to build a product, or they want to do a proof of concept about something. For example, I have a founder friend who is not a software engineer. He has this idea in his head, but he doesn't have the money to pay engineers, but he wants to raise funds. He's looking for investors to invest. How is he going to start writing the code, or how is he going to be able to do a demo to investors if he doesn't have a working product? These days, people don't just rely on pitch decks. They want to see a proof of concept. It doesn't necessarily have to be a finished product, but a proof of concept gives this form of, okay, there's something here, I can see this, that this is going to work. So how do people who are non-technical or don't have coding experience, how are they able to build products? There are tools like Lovable, there are tools like V0. I remember last year, I was going to go for a cybersecurity conference where I was going to do a training. I had just finished working on the slides, and I then thought to myself, I was so tired, and I said, how can I make this program more interesting? And then I decided to come up with a Q&A session. The quiz, sorry, it was a quiz. And what did I do? I just went into V0, and I said, I gave it my slide. I said, this is my presentation, the presentation I'm having tomorrow. I want to build a quiz app for tomorrow where the participants will be able to go into the platform. They would see the questions, pick the answer based on the training that they've just finished. And then at the end of the training, they will see their results. So it's more or less like you finish class and then you move into CBT examination. I just went to V0 that morning, that evening, and V0 generated the entire quiz for me, built the entire app, deployed it, and I just used it the following day. That was all. I didn't have to be a software engineer to be able to do that. Right? Everybody seated here could have done that. V0 does not require you to be a software engineer. It will do everything from writing the code, writing the plan, doing the layout, to deploying the app for you, and then you can use your app however you want. Another example is Lovable. You don't have to be a software engineer to be able to do that. I've seen people who have built very nice workflows using Lovable and using V0. Then for research, good enough, Claude has research built into it. But sometimes I find myself doing some research using Perplexity. I don't know if anybody has heard about Perplexity here. You've heard about Perplexity. Perplexity is actually really, really good at research. In fact, it got to a point where I will use Perplexity over Google search because of the kind of results that Perplexity returns back to me. Right? So Perplexity can be used for your research. It returns you citations. Then things like Notebook LM, you can use it to ingest documents. You can upload CSVs to it. You can upload your Excel sheet to it and run analysis on it. And then the other time, someone was talking about research, that in the academic sector, tools for doing research, that when they use things like ChatGPT and they use tools like Claude, that they are always flagged and stuff. Well, we have a platform called Elicit. And what Elicit does for you is, when you are researching about a specific topic, Elicit helps you to find very relevant papers and citations to the specific topic that you are looking for. So people who are in the research field, people who are academias, who are in the academic sector, they can leverage on tools like, in fact, Perplexity is also good for research, right? But there are some tools, and here's one funny thing about AI. People often confuse general purpose models to models that's built for specific purposes. Now, Elicit is a tool built specifically for academic research. A tool like ChatGPT is a general purpose tool. You can use it to do basically anything, right? A tool like Claude is a general purpose tool, except you are using, for someone like me, I use Claude Code, which is specifically built for coding purposes, right? Elicit is a tool that is built for academic research. So if you are going to pick a tool that you want to use for something or a specific purpose, you most likely want to go to a tool that's been built for that specific purpose, right? Then we go to something like automation. Before the AI bubble, right, we had a tool called Zapier. Zapier was widely used for automation purpose. You know, you connect multiple products together, connect your Google Sheets, your Google Docs, and many other SaaS, software as a service tools that you use out there. And basically, what the automation does is there's something that we call actions and triggers. Oh, for example, someone could build an automation that says, you have a Google form that maybe receives inputs from people, and at the end, you want to have a specific output. Maybe you want the form to go into an Excel sheet, or you want it to go into a specific database, or you want it to do something. That was what Zapier was used for. But now, with the advent of AI, a lot of people now do a lot of transformation steps underneath the hood. They can even go as far as like, okay, you have a form, you are taking, maybe you are doing like, say for instance, I know people who are in the academic world, when they want to like do their research, they often do stuff like questionnaires, right? You have your questionnaires. Sometimes you give people papers to fill the questionnaires. Sometimes you send out Google Form link for people to do their questionnaires. But after you receive the questionnaire, you most likely want to run an analysis, right? So what do you then do? You build an automation as the result is coming in your Google Form. You have this automation tool that, or an AI agent that sits in between the results from your Google Forms and runs an analysis behind the scenes based on the prompts or based on the directions that you have given it. And it returns an output back to you. That is what automation can do for you. And then for people like us who love to go hardcore, which is we like to build things from scratch, we use tools like LangChain. And what LangChain does is, LangChain is actually like a software library that we use to actually build agentic workflows. So we go to specialize. Now, I'd mentioned earlier that there are some specific tools that have been built for specific purposes, right? There are some specific models, or there are some state-of-the-art models that have been fine-tuned for specific purposes. For example, very early in my career, I used to be an embedded software engineer. I used to design hardware, design PCBs. I used to program microcontrollers and all of that, right? And this was as far back as 2019. 2016, 17, 18, 19, I was doing all of that. And it was tough. And one day, I was just, inquisitive to even know what is going on in the hardware industry. And then I found this product called Flux. And what Flux does is, it just takes your electronics schematics and automatically designs a PCB for you. To design PCB those days, you will spend days of wiring. And after wiring, sometimes when you eventually print out the prototype, you will notice that, you are passing high frequency over low frequency, or you are doing something where you are not supposed to do. You go back to the drawing board and start again, rewire. Now, AI will do all of those things with almost 90% accuracy. Those are things that were not possible in those days. We have people who were in the legal field. We have tools like Harvey, right? Harvey is like a legal operating system. And a lot of companies in the US actually like using this. And what Harvey does is, it actually takes the entire context of the organization, all your case laws, all the clients that you are serving. In fact, they have client portals where your clients can upload documents, upload requests, and do all of that. And behind the scenes, Harvey does the research, it drafts legal documents, it fills in legal documents on behalf of the user. It does just so much, and all of that is done with a model that has been fine-tuned especially for legal purposes. We have the likes of Glass, which is actually used in the medical field. We have the likes of Midjourney, which we use in image generation. And for the person that asked about the design stuff the other time, Midjourney is actually like a very good example of a software that can actually like generate really, really good designs. And now I'm going to like share my own little story. Back in 2023, I was working on this side project called Kuro.ai, and I'll show you the website briefly. And basically what Kuro.ai does is, you upload a pitch deck. Kuro, with the set of prompts, and this actually took a lot of like research work to actually get most of these things working. Crow will take your prompt, Crow will take the pitch deck, run an analysis on a company, and give a feedback to an investor if they should invest in that company, and it gives a confidence score to that company. And I'm going to show you an example of one of the products that that was powered by Crow.ai. So Recharge is an example of this company. So Recharge is actually a company in Lagos, and what they essentially do is they swap out mechanical engines from tricycles and replace them with electronic engines, with battery. So everybody's going like full-blown electric. And funny, a lot of keke riders in Ogo State now, all of them are actually like, in fact, these guys are overbooked because everybody wants to switch over to electric. It's more cost efficient. They spend less on maintenance, and they also had an incentive, which is at the end of the day, the keke riders can come and swap a new battery, and they can use that keke as a generator in their house to power their houses. Give feedback back to the keke riders. Now, Richard was going to go and raise money, and then my friend, who happens to be a co-founder of the company, came to me and was like, can you please run an analysis, a pitch on our pitch deck for us? Right. And what did I do? I passed it into Kuro. And Kuro came out with a 23-page document, right, based on a workflow that I had built. And then if you notice, it comes here and talks about, it categorizes it based on market need. It talks about the innovation, the market size, defensibility, scalability, traction, and then it gives a weighted score. And in the end, you will see what it said here. Decision, what? Invest with what? Invest with high confidence. I'm glad to tell you that Richard has been able to secure a seed fund of over $5 million based on what this tool was able to generate for them. So those are one of the things that you can actually use artificial intelligence to do. Now, back to Prequel. I told you the story about what I do at Prequel. I'm a forward deployed engineer there. I was a software engineer, but now mostly forward deployed because we now work directly with enterprise clients to build custom solutions for them, as opposed to having one specific product that is a general product that everybody can use. Because these days, when you work directly with enterprise guys, it's always that everybody has a custom workflow. They have how they run things in their company, so you actually have to adapt and build things for them. And then I've talked about Rema. It took me a week. I started on Sunday. The next Sunday, we used it during service. And all of this is combined with my own personal work. I have other jobs I was doing. I had, my own personal business to run. All of this in between, I was able to build a product within a week. Right? With the help of artificial intelligence. Now, we're now going to talk about the 3 parts that you can choose as a person. Which one of them? Because not everybody is going to be like an hardcore engineer like me. And not everybody wants to build a product. But how can you apply AI in your daily life? We have the integrator, we have the builder, we have the operator. Now, the integrator is someone who brings AI into the existing field. I gave an example of my wife who wanted to work on a process flow document. And all she had to do was bring the Excel sheets where they had a couple of just tables, and I'm not an accountant, so I don't really understand what is there. But at the end of everything, it had generated over 20-page process flow document. And after going through it personally by herself, she was like, she couldn't even find anything to correct on the project. Now, that is an integrator. She is integrating AI into her daily life. The builder, someone who ships products. I am a builder. I build AI products, or I build AI-powered products, right? We have the operator, and this is person who runs AI inside a real company. So I'm between the builder, I'm also like an operator because I do both. I run AI inside a real company and I also ship products using artificial intelligence. And I also build AI integrated products, meaning I can be the three of them because that's like my daily life. But you can decide to choose one part. You can be that person who integrates AI in your daily life or in your daily work. You can be the person who wants to build tools that other people will use. And you can be the person who all you just want to do is just operate. You already have the tools, right? You just want to operate the tools that have been built. Now, we are going to talk about the integrator, bringing AI into the field that you're already working. How do you want to use AI? Do you want to use AI daily? Most of us have a lot of repetitive tasks that we do every single day. It could be your personal work. It could be at your place of work where you are employed, your place of employment. Right? There are some things that every time when you come to work, the first thing that this is what you have to do. Try to think, is this thing something that I can automate using AI? Right? And then when you are done, if it is something I can automate using AI, try it out and see how you automate it using AI. Now, this is the funny thing about Africans or Nigerians, or I say people in general. People always feel threatened that AI is going to take their job. And of course, when you bring something like this into your team, maybe after the first 2 months, you notice that what usually takes you people 3, 4, 5 hours to do, because you've integrated AI into it, it's now taking you 5, 10 minutes. By the time you come into the office, maybe at the click of a button, 10 minutes, the result is out. Someone's job is already gone. But nonetheless, the truth is, there are other important things you could have used that time doing that you haven't figured out yet because you have been spending your time doing those repetitive tasks daily. So, your first few months, you want to identify painful workflows in your organizations. And the next 2 months, you are thinking about, let's pick a particular, painful workflow. Let's try and see how we can automate that. Document the results and share it with your team. People will fight you, guaranteed. Some people will say, no, especially people that work in government organizations. You want to take money out of my pocket? No. We can't share this with anybody. We can't, because of course, once you take this out of, once you're able to bring something that, thank you. Once you're able to build a tool that actually reduce the time that is used to do something, people become jobless. People don't really have anything to do. They don't have anything to do anymore. So they feel like they become redundant in the system. And when you're redundant in the system, the next thing they'll be thinking about is firing you. Right? Now, if for whatever good reason, your team accepts this, you're able to present this to your boss, the next thing that you want to do is you want to become that AI person in your company where, okay, when they are looking to automate something, your boss is calling you, there's one workflow that we have. We are trying to see how we can, automate this. And what that brings to you? It kind of brings a kind of rep, right? Where the company knows you can save them money. The company knows you can save them time. The company knows you're always going to deliver your task on time. Come on. Who doesn't want an employee who saves the company's money? Who doesn't want an employee who delivers on time? I mean, not even on time, in speed record time. Because there's a difference between being on time and speed record. On time means they say I should deliver in 1 hour. At exactly 1 hour, I am done. I am on time. But speed record is they gave me 1 hour, 10 minutes, I have delivered. They want to keep you. The next thing you're hearing is promotion. And also, that is, if you are going to leave your company, that gives you a leverage. Because wherever you are going to next, you'll be able to say, I did this for my company. I was able to reduce the process time that we used to do this. I took it from 1 hour, I took it from 3 hours, I took it from 1 week to 1 day, I took it from 1 week to few hours. And the good thing about when you write CVs is, once you are able to show improvement, because anybody that is reading your CV, if I see someone that is saying, I worked in a company, I was involved in day-to-day, Show me numbers. In the day-to-day that you are doing, what impact do you make? What did you add to the team that till tomorrow they will continue to remember you? Oh, I took a process from this so number of time to this so number of time. In the engineering field, we say maybe you worked on a particular endpoint that are always, when people are querying it, this pin will be loading. It will take like 1 or 2 minutes before results comes back. When you are making improvements, the goal for the improvement is you want to reduce the time it takes for user to see that result. So whenever you are coming back with, you are not going to come back and say, I just updated the endpoint. What exactly did you update there? What is the feedback? What feedback are these users going to get? Those are the metrics that you want to track, right? And then we are going to talk about the builder. Someone like me, you have ideas in your head that you've always wanted to build. Whether you're a technical person or you're a non-technical person, I've showed you tools that you can actually use to build this product. Now, one funny thing about we human beings is we always like to say, I want to. I want to is not going to get you anywhere. You actually need to start taking action. Start doing something. Don't worry about, the product's being perfect. I don't think I have the right skills. I don't think I have this. Start doing something. Just try it. Pick one problem. Try to build a solution. Ship it to a real user. And then maybe got so good like PuBeam, you find paying customers. People start paying for your product, or people start paying for your workflow. Or you can start, maybe you find a problem that people have been complaining on online. And you just say, I think I can build something that would actually solve this person's issue. You try to build a prototype. And then you go, it could be on platforms like Reddit, it could be on Twitter, it could be on Facebook, and you just drop a comment under the person's post and be like, check this out. I built this. Does it solve your problem? And then from that, who knows, someone might find your tool useful, and they might be willing to pay for it. Or someone might even want you to build something custom for them. That is how we get, jobs. Then we want to talk about the operator. Like I said, people that, day to day, they're the ones helping their company to, gather knowledge on artificial intelligence. You do demos. For example, you have a workflow that is people find very difficult to do, or is like a painful, repetitive workflow that you do daily. You found a solution to it. You do a benchmark against your existing workflow, and you present it to your team, or you present, it could even be a product that the company that you're working for will be willing to share to customers, right? You show what you shipped, and you'll be like, this is a tool that we use. I built a tool that helps us to streamline this workflow, or to reduce this workflow by this certain number of hours, or reduce the amount of people that will be involved in doing this specific task. So that is what the operator does. And I am enjoying every single one of us to pick one of these tasks. You can decide to be the 3. I am the 3. You can decide to pick one. You can decide to be the builder. You can decide to be the operator. And you can decide to be the integrator. The next question is, what do you do next? Automate one task. Pick one thing that you do manually that takes you so much. Anything. It could be a weekly report. It could be an assignment. Try to see how you can automate part of it using artificial intelligence. That time that you save can be used to do anything. You can multitask these days. You can be working on 3, 4, 5 different things at the same time with the help of AI. Pick a local problem, build for something. Rema is a good example. I saw a problem, and I decided to build for it. And we decided to use it in our church. On Sundays, no one is babysitting Bible verse, right? We plug the laptop. I come on Sunday. I plug the laptop, connect the audio source to it, connect it to our display, and then as the pastor is reading the verse, it just automatically goes to the screen. We have one hands free that could do something else in the media team. Make one bet and commit to it. Ship a real product, a paid service that uses AI as a core. Pick your work as AI becomes a daily multiplier in whatever you do. join or start a cohort of 3 to 5 other people doing the same thing, right? The social media platform is filled with a lot of resources, communities, right? And I usually tell people, right, a lot of people have not yet fully harnessed the power of social media, right? Rema, when I decided to tweet about Rema, I never envisioned that Rema was going to go viral. When I was checking the metrics of Rema, it had gotten to over 800,000 people who had viewed the product and given feedbacks. So I just sat down one day and I'm like, I built this tool. It is sitting on my laptop. Haven't pushed it out. I said, oh, you know what? I'm making this in open source and I'm going to talk about it. I mean, there are a lot of backlash. People came and like, oh, why will you build an open source product to something that already exists? I'm like, it's the kingdom of God. We have to move the kingdom forward. I'm not collecting money for it. I'm not building it for personal gain. I just feel I owe the community something. And I decided to build it and give it out for free. So people are always going to have negative things to say, but I want to enjoy you that you should please try and look for a community. Go online, search for a community, search for people who are very similar and like ideas or like mind like you. Form a community, form a clique and say, okay, I have this idea, you have this idea. Can we come together and work on something beautiful? And funnily, that's how a lot of companies start. It starts from conversations on Twitter, starts from conversations on Facebook where someone is ranting about something, another person is seeing, I have the same problem. Then you come together, you form a team, and before you know it, you have a co-founder. Before you know it, you've built a product. Before you know it, you've launched a product, you've raised funds, you've built a global business. Find your 3 this weekend, or find 1. 3 people in this room, exchange numbers, form a pod, meet every week, or it doesn't have to be physically, it could be online. You know, I'm very sure that there are people who are in the same field here, right? Meet each other, share contacts, talk to each other. Okay, what is it that you're doing? Or what problem are you solving? You know, one day I was talking with one of my friends who is a lawyer, and he was asking me, can we work on a legal AI project together? And now I'm like, why not? Well, you know, I'm not a lawyer. I really don't understand the legal processes. I don't know how their workflow looks like. All I just know is I can write code. You come with the idea, explain to me how, you know, the whole law thing, explain it to me, how I will think about how I can put it inside code. I can think about how to build workflows for something like this, right? Look for your friends who share very similar ideas to you, or have very similar mindsets with you, and try to build a community together. Thank you.
Ojebiyi, thank you so much, an AI guru. You know,